The best of Money Matters. Under the Radar.
You're listening to Money FM 89.3, and it's now time for Under the Radar with me, Chua Tian Tian. That's all about ice cream and fast food today as we turn the spotlight on one of America's most beloved brands. Now, this brand is also well loved by billionaires, more notably value investor Warren Buffett and Shark Tank's Mark Cuban. You might have by now guessed that I'm talking about International Dairy Queen, a company known globally for its soft-serve treats like the Blizzard and the Dilly Bar. Now, founded in 1940, International Dairy Queen, or the parent company of American Dairy Queen Corporation and Dairy Queen Canada, has grown to a global quick service restaurant player. The firm is also famously known as a wholly owned subsidiary of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, having been acquired in 1998. Now, currently, the firm develops, licenses, and services a system of over 7,700 Dairy Queen restaurants in over 20 countries. But the firm doesn't seem to stop there and appears to be on the charm offensive to expand internationally. Now, for one thing, the firm had in 2022, through American Dairy Queen Corporation and private equity firm FountainVest Partners, unveiled plans to open up 600 Dairy Queen restaurants in China by the end of the decade. Then came July 2024, when International Dairy Queen teamed up with FountainVest Partner franchise ownership company, CFB Group, to open what's said then to be the first DQ Blizzard and Burgers restaurant in Shanghai in Asia. So what was the rationale behind the firm's aggressive expansion moves, and how far will the company's international business bolster sales as global trade tensions and tariffs weigh on consumption in the US? Now, beyond international expansion, International Dairy Queen is also said to be placing a stronger emphasis on hot food versus the dessert treats it was once famous for. So why is that the case? A lot of questions, as you can imagine, and joining me on the line is Dr. Brandon Guthrie, Director of International Development at Dairy Queen. Brandon, great to have you join us today.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Tian Tian. It was a great introduction.
And you are joining us all the way from the US, am I right?
I am, yes.
So good to have you on board. So, Brandon, we've briefly talked about International Dairy Queen, but let's hear from you. How would you describe the firm's value proposition and business model right now? How has this changed over the years, given how the company was founded back in 1940?
Well, with more than 7,700 restaurants in over 20 countries globally, and quickly approaching 8,000 restaurants, our recipe for success is pretty simple. It's serving great tasting food and treats with fast and friendly service in clean and well-maintained restaurants. Around the world, we're known as a special place where our fans and consumers can celebrate life's special moments. And that's something where we allow our fans to connect with their friends and family. So it's something that we're very proud of. And like you said, we have a long legacy to live up to, and that also supports our growth.
So an emphasis on family, I suppose, as well. But what would you say, Brandon, is International Dairy Queen's positioning against other industry peers, the likes of your McDonald's, KFC, and even Jollibee and the QSR, quick service restaurant industry?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, the DQ is an iconic brand. So we've been around for 85 years, and we've seen a lot of growth and evolution in our own brand over the years. And I think one of the things that we have prided ourselves on over the course of this time is a focus on our consumer and our fans. Staying close to the consumer preferences and needs for each of our markets. And like we said, we're in many markets globally, but also making sure we're staying close to consumer trends and meeting our consumer where they are in each of our markets, which positions us uniquely to serve them better in this industry. So it's something that I think sets us apart from our peers, and uniquely positions us to capitalize in each of these markets.
We'll definitely talk more about preferences in just a bit. But before that, Brendan, I do like to focus specifically on your international operations for this interview. In May 2023, International Dairy Queen filled key roles in the international team to help it scale in countries outside of its main markets of the US and Canada. So some of these markets with potential for growth back then was China, India, Thailand, as well as in the Middle East. Why was there the impetus to grow globally then? How saturated was the US market? And why were these markets, China, India, Thailand, the Middle East, singled out as markets with high growth potential?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the impetus to growth, as you mentioned, has always been a part of DQ. International has been a part of our story for many years, and so we look for opportunities for growth, and we look for those right moments in each of the markets, and that's served us well over the course of our brand history. So I think it's less about market saturation and more about the opportunity that we see in some of our existing markets, and new markets that we've yet to enter. So I think with markets, as you mentioned, like China, where there's still a lot of room for growth, but we've also seen rapid growth and significant growth in the past. But we also look to markets where we're not in today, in the UAE, in KSA, in areas like India that you mentioned, which there's a large population of potential fans for Dairy Queen that have yet to experience the brand in their market, and in their countries. And we look forward to the day that we're going to be able to deliver a Dairy Queen in those places for them to experience close to home. So I think, as you know, most of the world lives outside of the United States, and so there's a lot of potential for growth for the brand outside, and that doesn't have anything to do with limiting the growth potential of the brand within the U.S. or within Canada. There's still a lot of room to grow, and we're continuing to see expansion in all aspects of our business.
If I may try my luck over here, Brendan, why the specific markets that you named, China, India, Thailand, and the Middle East? Was it solely because of structural trends like growing income, growing middle class, and a big population, or were there other more specific trends that align with where Dairy Queen is going and where the brand is positioned, so to speak?
Yeah, I think the points that you mentioned are good ones, and it's ones that we also take into consideration when evaluating new markets. As you can expect, it's a bit of a multivariant approach with which markets and which time, and that changes over time as well. So I think the points that you mentioned in terms of spending power, consumer proposition, youthful populations, those are all going to be important. But we also look at potential partners and the timing of potential partners, and being part of, the Berkshire Hathaway family. We put a strong premium at Dairy Queen as part of our brand DNA in partnerships with our potential franchisees. And that also plays a big factor into the readiness of a particular market that we may look to in the future.
Okay, now let's set our sights on the Middle East. Brendan, you've mentioned in an interview with a caterer in November 2024 that the UAE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, KSA, are well positioned for growth. And in particular, the quick service restaurant space is set to grow at a CAGR of 14%, with a young population bolstering the numbers. Tell us more about the bright spots, and how are you planning to expand in the Middle East in terms of agreements signed with PE partners?
Yeah, so the Middle East, Dubai in particular, was a place that I was able to call home for over 10 years. And the only reason I mentioned that is because I was able to see the growth in that part of the world firsthand. So I think, as we mentioned, we call out the potential. And as I mentioned in that interview with Caterer, the potential in those markets, there's a strong youthful population. There's also a strong consumer knowledge base as we look to brand awareness around not just Western brands, but particularly in Dairy Queen, and that consumers there are eager for a Dairy Queen close to them, and so we're excited about that. I think the other thing that gives us confidence is we have a strong business in tangential markets in the GCC, in Qatar, in Bahrain, and in Kuwait. And most recently, we signed a new development agreement in Qatar to more than double the existing footprint of restaurants in that market over the next 5 years. So I think those things all combined, again, with a multivariant kind of approach and evaluation, give us confidence that the UAE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which are the largest markets in the GCC, should be good fits for our business. And it's a matter of looking and evaluating potential partners that would be that would share the same vision as DQ and the brand in the long run.
And Brandon, from the GCC, I do want to take us back to Asia. So let's go to China right now, Brandon. International Dairy Queen had in 2022, through American Dairy Queen Corporation and PE firm, private equity firm, FountainVest Partners, unveiled plans to open up 600 Dairy Queen restaurants in China by the end of the decade. Now, we've seen the plans come into action in July 2024 when you teamed up with FountainVest Partners franchise ownership company, CFB Group, to open what's said to be the first DQ Blizzard and Burgers restaurants in Shanghai. Take us through your current presence in China. What was the rationale behind the move? What can both sides bring to the table?
So outside of the US, China is our largest global market with 1,700 restaurants. So it's obviously a huge part of our portfolio and our business and our strategy. And we're just getting started. So we see still a lot of runway and room for growth in the China market. And we have great partners, as you mentioned, in CFB and Hoping for our franchise partnerships in China. So it's a market that we're very proud of, and we have a great positioning and a great consumer proposition for DQ there. And as you mentioned, most recently in 2024, we launched Blizzard and Burgers, which is the hot food and treat offering, the full food offering, as we would call it, in the market. And that's something that we've done for quite a while in markets like the US and Canada, where we have a full food offering where we serve both hot food and treats. And we felt like, in partnership with our franchise partners in China, that it was the right time for our consumer to find and interact with the brand in additional ways. They were demanding this, and as I mentioned previously, this is something that we pay close attention to. And Blizzard and Burgers was the offering that was put forward, and we're seeing some great success. We have the restaurants that we've opened currently, and we're on track to the 180 restaurants that we've committed to in our development commitments. And we're really enjoying and seeing the fruits of that proposition and those restaurants with our Chinese fans.
And if I condense your response earlier, I gather the sense that perhaps it's the right time for Dairy Queen to expand in China. So why now? And really, what is next for International Dairy Queen in the Chinese markets? Any new formats, new stores, new expansion, etc.?
I think to the latter part of your question, we continue to evaluate new ways to interact with our fans. And I think the Blizzard and Burgers is one example of how that iteration has manifested over time. We have with our delicious cakes, we have cake stores which showcase the artisanal nature of how our cakes are made in store in China, which is somewhat unique compared to other parts of the world. And so I think you can expect to see a continued evaluation and keeping our finger on the pulse of our fans in China. And if that means there's some continued evolution of the brand and formats, we're definitely going to pay close attention to that. But right now, what we're focused on is Blizzard and Burgers in that market. And like I said, we only have a handful of restaurants right now out of a portfolio of 1,700 restaurants, which are the rest of them are treat and deliver treat and our cakes. So there's still some room to work and a lot of room for growth to continue to expand that offering to more and more of our fans in the market.
Well, currently, Brendan, we do know that International Dairy Queen is operated by CFB Group in China and also Minor Food in Thailand. And we've seen how fast food restaurant players, they're opting to let private equity firms manage and operate their brands in Asia, particularly so in China, to customize their products to local taste. I mean, China, that's where we see rice being offered in fast food restaurants. Same goes for Thailand as well. You see prawn burgers and so on and so forth. So how far is having a master franchisee your preferred mode of international expansion? And how do you ensure the standardization of your brand if customization is the way to go?
Yeah, that's a very insightful question, Tianten. I think in general, right, the reason why we would why brands look for international franchisees is for that on the ground contextual nature of the market, right? And so looking for great partners that understand their market, that are well capitalized, that believe in the brand, and that understand the brand DNA is critical to our success. And it's something that we put at the forefront of our partnership considerations. And so partners like CFB in China do an amazing job at this, and we're very proud of that relationship. And it really is a partnership. It's something that we work hand in hand in terms of providing consumer insights and understanding the brand and the offerings that we provide and our brand DNA, but also leveraging the local knowledge that comes from having a partner on the ground in those markets. And I think that's only beneficial to both parties in a partnership like franchise expansion. And again, having 85 years of experience in franchising, Dairy Queen is well positioned to continue to evaluate those partnerships and find the best ones in the business. And I think we do have some pretty amazing partners helping grow DQ globally. So it's something we're very proud of.
And, Brendan, some of us might recall seeing Dairy Queen in Singapore some years back. Now, Dairy Queen is no longer in the country, but what will it take for you and for your team to justify bringing Dairy Queen back to the country? Does it make business sense to do so right now?
Well, what I can definitely say is Singapore is of strategic importance to DQ and the brand. It's a market that we continue to watch and we continue to evaluate. Personally, it's a market that I've been, it's a city that I've been to many, many times. I love Singapore. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And I would love nothing more than to be on Orchard Road in a DQ, sitting with my friends, celebrating one of life's special moments with a blizzard. So you have my commitment that I'll do my best, and it's of strategic importance for the brand.
Okay. Now, if you're just tuning in, we're in conversation with Dr. Brendan Guthrie, Director of International Development at Dairy Queen. Well, all in there, Brendan, International Dairy Queen in May 2025 set what's described by media reports as a quote-unquote bold target for its franchisees. So we are looking at a target of $10 billion in sales by 2030, or over 4,500 blizzards sold every minute for 24 hours a day. What was the basis for the target, given we're looking at $6.4 billion in sales for 2024? How much of this is set to be contributed by your overseas outlets?
Well, international is a strategic pillar of the business, and it's going to continue to be a strategic focus. It's where we've seen growth historically. And it's where we're also projecting growth in the future. So we've had a great track record of success there. I think, as I mentioned, most of the world lives outside of the U.S. So there's obviously a huge opportunity. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we're in over 20 countries, but there's a lot more places where we can still go. So we have the benefit of having a large presence and a significant presence in the markets that we're in. But there's room for expansion in other areas and other markets. And so that comes with obviously financial benefits and sales implications. I think the goal that our CEO Troy and our executive team set forth of $10 billion in sales, I think a bold goal is a good goal, and but it's definitely an achievable goal, and it's one that we have line of sight to, and we have financial metrics that lead to it. So we're excited to continue to do our part on the international side of the business and deliver that growth, and it's where we see a lot of potential.
How much of that close to doubling of sales has to be contributed by your international business?
Well, I think historically we'll continue to deliver a strong pipeline.
Okay.
In terms of the amount of growth, it's multivariant, right? There's still going to be a lot of headroom for growth in the U.S. and Canada, and in our international markets. So I think too early to say how much would come from just the international business, but I can say it's where we're putting a lot of our focus, and it's a strategic benefit for the business.
Okay. Somewhat related to our previous question, which is how big will International Dairy Queen need to be in terms of scale to achieve the numbers and the bold target? Is International Dairy Queen expecting to almost double the firm's presence? And if so, how much of the new stores will be located overseas versus in the US and Canada?
Yeah, I think the unique thing about our brand and where we're positioned is we can deliver that growth through a variety of ways. So we have the potential for international expansion, new restaurant expansion in new markets, obviously. But We also see potential in sales expansion in our existing businesses and our existing stores through additional menu layers and sales growth. So I think there's still a lot of runway and a lot of track record. And again, there's a lot of analysis that went into those targets to make sure that they were bold but achievable. And so that's I can definitely commit that that's something that we keep focused on and that we have at the forefront of what we do every day.
How far do you think the company's international business will bolster sales as we look at global trade tensions around the world and tariffs that weigh on consumption in the US? And the second part of the question is, in terms of tariffs, how would that affect supply chains for your international business then?
Well, I think the good news, if there is good news when it comes to tariffs, is that as an international business and as a global brand as a whole, these aren't anything new to us, right? We have operations and procedures that have been in place for quite some time to deal with various pressures, and they affect everybody at the same time. So it's all part of the same playing field. So it's not something that keeps us up at night, and it's something that we've taken precautions and have people and resources in place that are constantly mitigating or evaluating those things. Like I said, to some extent, it's just part of doing global business, and so whether it be FX or tariffs, these are something that we constantly keep an eye on. But again, it's not something that's unique or particularly new to what we evaluate on a day-to-day basis.
And beyond international expansion, Brendan, International Dairy Queen is also set to be placing a stronger emphasis on hot food versus the dessert treats it was once famous for. For me, it is Dairy Queen hot dogs. So why the emphasis on hot food? How far has it got to do with increasing the average spend and increasing the dwell time at your restaurants?
Well, I think if you look and you're familiar with the Dairy Queen legacy and how the brand has grown, at least especially in the US and Canada over time, right? We began as a treat focused concept, and that led to an additional limited food concept and to growth into the full, grill and chill concept, which is hot food and delicious treats. So we see that evolution that has already taken place, where we continue to focus that in existing international markets and new international markets is we're looking at that continued evolution of our market. So similar to like what we saw in China with the introduction of Blizzard and burgers, and how that particular evolution of our food encapsulated with our treats has evolved. We'll continue to look at how that applies to not just our existing markets, but also potentially new markets. And so it's an area of growth for us. It allows our consumers to interact with the brand in a variety of ways and in a variety of occasions. And I think the ability to interact with our fans on a variety of different occasions is important in driving sales, but also meeting their needs and their wants and making sure that we're a brand for them. And that we're delivering on our brand promise.
Don't mind me trying my luck over here, Brendan, as a journalist. We talked about that sales target, that very bold sales target, and we talk about growth in terms of store count. But how far, in terms of contribution to your sales target, does it have to be done by increasing the average spend? Do you think there's way more to go, or from a treat concept that's maybe $1 or $2 per spend?
Yeah, I don't think our focus is on driving up our spend on items. So I think we see a lot of the growth through transactions, through increase in store count, through increase in visits. We have an everyday premium offering, which is a quality product that already resonates with the consumer that gives them value and they're willing to pay for. So I wouldn't say that the focus is on continuing to drive up the check. But the focus is on delivering value and increasing ways that the consumer can, again, have additional visits, have additional transactions and reasons to come and visit us at your local DQ. And so I think that's the healthiest way to grow, and it's where we're focused.
Okay. And, how will your emphasis on hot food influence store formats in the next, say, 1 to 3 years? Any new innovations, store formats, product categories that we can expect during this time?
Yeah, I think you'll continue to see a focus on an evolution of store formats. So especially in maybe what you would be most used to in Southeast Asia, right? It would be a treat focused format. The full food format will be a little bit larger. The kitchen sizes will be larger, like they are at the Blizzard and Burgers in Shanghai. So you'll continue to see an evolution there. And as we bring that to more and more markets, it's something that we're constantly looking at to make sure the format fits the market, and also maximizes the amount of presence that we can have in the market so that we're meeting the consumer. As technology and different consumer trends arise, we constantly look at those and make modifications in our store formats. With the advent of delivery, that's a good example of how formats adjusted with the rise of an increase in delivery to become more important in our QSR formats. So we'll continue to look at that and play to our superpower, which is staying close to our consumer and staying close to those consumer insights. And we'll make the changes necessary as that comes up to make sure we're meeting that demand.
Okay, and before I let you go, Brandon, what are some future plans for Dairy Queen for the rest of this year into the next? What can we expect in Southeast Asia or perhaps right here in Singapore?
Well, what I can tell you and what you can expect is more of the same when it comes to delivering on our brand promise. So we'll continue to deliver tasty food, delicious treats, amazing cakes now and in the future. We are a brand that is 85 years old, right? But unlike most 85-year-olds, we're just getting started. So I think what you can look for is some exciting news here in the future. So watch this space, hopeful to make some really exciting announcements. And in the very near future, in Q4 of this year, we're opening the Taiwan market. So we'll introduce our first DQ in those markets. We have signed agreements with Hong Kong and Macau. And I already mentioned some exciting news that we had in Qatar. So we'll continue to deliver on our brand promise. It's my personal and professional objective and responsibility to create more opportunities for our fans to experience DQ all over the world. And you have my commitment that I will do my best.
Thanks so much for the insights today, Brandon. That was Dr. Brandon Guthrie, Director of International Development at Dairy Queen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Tian Tian.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance.
Money FM 89.3